The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
What
What was that? Oh my god. Are you having like belching issues?
No, wait a minute. Wait. It is magic time. Hello and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show.
Don't talk to me about energy when you can't even like do a podcast.
Shh, quiet. I have a hangover right now.
Oh god.
My head hurts very badly. I'm going to do my best. This is how much I care about the listeners and the audience for this show. Even though my head is just ringing like a gong that somebody beat with a
gong beater?
A gong beater. I'm going to try to power through and do the show. It is episode 45, I think, of the Warren and Bradley Show.
Is it? For some reason I would think it was 44.
I think I just posted 44.
So it's 45?
Yeah. All
Okay.
you eagle-eared listeners out there will know.
Yeah, correct. Send in a correction to the Twitter account if we're wrong about what episode it is.
But we're going to have a good show. We're
Are you
going to
drinking
have
coffee for the...
I am.
Oh, okay.
See, this is the hangover thing.
Yeah.
I should have some sunglasses on, too.
Did you take any like medicine or anything?
Well, I drank tons of water this morning. I did the Alka-Seltzer extra strength.
Yeah.
Made myself some eggs and bacon. Had lots of coffee. I don't know.
Still
I think,
have a headache, huh?
I think this is going to be one of the all-day hangovers that just never actually goes away until I go to sleep tonight, basically.
I wonder if it is worse because of the effects of your concussion from 2 weeks ago.
I don't know. I was sick last week too and had a headache from being sick. But then I didn't know if it was from being sick or if it was still from the concussion.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You got a lot of problems.
I've been having some problems lately. But we're gonna power through. We're gonna give a good show to the listeners here. We're gonna have a Street Freak of the Week.
Oh.
We have two excellent Street Freaks. One of whom you probably won't believe, but
Oh, another one of those.
you'll have to suspend your disbelief. We're going to try to do That's How Women Are last week, but we're going to try to cram it into this episode this week.
Okay, good.
We have some good celebrity news, so let's get right on it.
It's very exciting.
It's very, very exciting. Yeah, the hangover. I went out with our good friend Warren Van, who's also my co-host, last night.
Yeah.
And we had a couple drinks, yada, yada, yada. Hadn't had that much. And then I went to a show, and I met with a couple friends who were at the show, and then they immediately left. So then I was just like at the show.
Oh, no.
And I was drinking, but I didn't think I drank that much. I was just kind of standing around listening to the music, glaring at women who I found attractive, which apparently does not.
No.
It doesn't help much.
Being the weird loner that's just glaring at women isn't
Yeah,
that
or
great.
glowering perhaps would be the proper term for it.
There you go.
I guess that doesn't really attract their notice.
No.
Or it does attract their notice, but not in a good way.
Not in a positive way.
It's more of a,
No, yeah.
that guy is creepy,
Yeah, stay away from
kind
him,
of way. It was a good show. There was some band, it was one of the dudes from the Fleet Foxes, which is the Seattle band that I don't like very much, but he was playing in this band called Poor Moon. And it was good. It was kind of poppy, shimmery, poppy stuff. They actually covered a very obscure Kinks song.
Oh, there you
And
go. That'll win you some
I
affection.
love
Yeah.
the Kinks are probably my favorite band of all time, and it was one of those deep cuts that nobody would even know was a Kinks song, except I knew it was a Kinks song.
So you had that feeling of
I
superiority
did.
over some of the other people
But
that
I
were
didn't
there.
have anyone to tell.
No, you're like, I know who wrote that
just
song.
start nudging
Yeah.
strangers like, this is a Kinks song. Yeah,
People
I
be
don't
like,
give a
yeah, who cares? Shut up.
But it was fun. And then I wandered home. Well, actually, it wasn't very fun. But I wandered home
Okay.
mildly drunk. And I think the problem is that my drinking muscle is atrophied now because I don't drink very often.
Yeah.
And when I do drink, I drink maybe once a week, and I don't drink that
You're not
much.
drunk all the time anymore.
No.
No.
I think I had more fun when I was drunk all the time.
Oh, yeah, it was fun sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
But hangovers aren't any good.
Well,
They're terrible.
I didn't really get hangovers then because I was used to it. I think it's a problem of you just need to exercise that drinking muscle, get it all buff and callous.
Well, I only had 2 drinks last night, and I was so paranoid about having a hangover. I went home and drank tons and tons of water, and like woke up scared that I was going to have a horrible headache.
Yeah, well, there's all those home remedies for hangovers that never seem to work. I think sleep is pretty much the only thing that ever does anything.
Let your body recover naturally. Yeah.
But, this week I was sick. I don't know. Just bleh. Not feeling great.
That's what we're doing now?
I guess.
Summing up your week, you just go, blah.
Blah.
I'll tell you, a couple things happened to me this week.
What happened to you?
Well, I went out and got conveyor belt sushi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so I was eating some edamame,
Uh-huh.
and I was in the pod, and I was like biting through it, and it shot out and almost landed on the plate of the guy that was sitting next to me. And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and he was like, "Oh, don't worry about it, it's cool." But then the little pod was still sitting there.
Yeah.
And so I waited like 10 seconds, and I sort of like reached over and took it because it wasn't like I was just going to leave it there.
Is this like at a bar?
It's like a bar where the
Okay.
conveyor belt's going by,
Right.
and I took it away. He's like, it's fine. I was like, yeah, I know, but I still feel weird about you.
So it's not like you're reaching onto his table or something.
No, I was reaching across like his eating area.
Yeah.
Yeah, it like shot out at him. So then I was having lots of problems with the edamame. It was like shooting everywhere. Like I couldn't get them to come into my mouth. They just go out the side and go like, there was one in my pocket of my sweatshirt when I got home.
Sorry, I couldn't get him to come into my mouth.
Exactly. It was very...
Why don't you just put the whole thing in your mouth at once? Oh, God, we can't. There's too many double entendres going on here.
So that was a good time.
Yeah.
And also, what else happened? Oh, I was walking down the street the other morning to get coffee.
Yeah.
And I had flip-flops on, and I walked to this area that was so covered with sap that my flip-flops were pulled off of my feet, and I stepped into the sappy area and took like 2 steps.
What?
Because it was like glue.
Why
Just
was
like,
there sap all over the road?
There's
Or
a
the
corner
sidewalk?
in Bellingham that is just covered in sap.
Where's the sap from?
There's a tree that's like right there, but the sap is just dripping off of it apparently.
What kind of tree?
I don't know what it is. It's some kind of sappy
Is
tree.
it dropping some seeds or cones or something?
You can't
and
see
then there's
anything.
sap?
You can't even see anything's there until you step in it and your shoe comes off.
It's very weird.
It's disgusting, but I was walking over here right now and I got a leaf stuck to my shoe. I had a hard time getting off because of sap. There's sap everywhere. And as I was walking down G Street to come over here, just enjoying the nice afternoon.
Don't be too specific about the location of the secret Warner
I
Brothers
walked
studio.
down G Street. I'm not going to tell you which direction I'm going,
All
but
right.
just know it's towards Bumtown.
Yeah.
From more normal town. But there are 2 kids, maybe like 9-year-old boys sitting on the porch, like playing with like a laptop computer. Like they had a bottom part of one sitting there and a bunch of parts of it out. And I was like, oh, these kids are like playing.
Yeah.
Then they had another laptop computer there. So the kid pulls out a tool. He has like a needle nose pliers.
Right.
And he's going to take it to this other laptop, just start slamming the needle nose pliers on top of the laptop, smashing the top of it.
Really?
And I just moved on.
Did you notice the reaction? Was this
kids were
something that
just-
the other kid expected to happen?
No, the kids were just like staring at, like they were so bored that this is what they were doing. They were taking a needle nose pliers and just
Wow.
slamming it into the top of a laptop computer.
So decadent.
And they had just ripped apart another one. I was assuming when I saw the parts of the one that they were doing something like they were trying to like build something or do something
They're
creative.
going to take some components from
No,
one
they were
and put
just
it in the
taking
other.
things and just smashing them.
How
on the
old are
porch.
these kids?
I don't know, 9, but it's hard to tell with kids.
So I
you
guess
know?
their parents are so blasé and so rich or something. They're like, oh, these old laptops
Well,
that are
yeah.
2 years old. Here, break these.
Well, rather than interact with my children, I'll just give them laptops to
Yeah.
smash on the porch.
Huh.
Yeah.
I like that.
That was a
'Cause
weird
I've always
thing.
thought about being rich and having my room of shit to smash.
Oh yeah, well you want to like just shoot things up too,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Just destroy things for no reason, just because you can.
Yeah, so I empathize with those children. I think if I had a old laptop, actually I do have an old laptop around somewhere. I should break that.
We should get needle nose pliers and just start smashing the top of it, which isn't even a very good way to destroy a laptop,
No,
right?
You get a mallet of some kind.
Yeah, that would destroy it, but it's mostly just like puncturing little holes in the top of it over and over and over again.
Oh.
That's what kids do nowadays. They're just not creative anymore.
No.
Because I remember when I was a kid, I used to like take apart little like, you know, not computers, but maybe like whatever electronics are around and try to like fix them or do things with them. But I wasn't just smashing them with tools.
I do remember, yeah, I had this old giant bulky calculator that had the little paper receipt thing that would come out
Yeah.
of it. And I remember taking that apart and fiddling with it with, I don't know what I thought I was going to do with it, but I was apparently trying to fix it. And so I had these circuits and things out and I was like knocking on them with hammers and screwdrivers and things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how things work.
But it wasn't just for wanton destruction.
No, it wasn't just you weren't just taking those pliers and stabbing it. I remember my grandpa actually bought a computer, a TV at a garage sale that only got one station. For some reason, it wouldn't change channels. So he's like, "I'll give this to my grandson Warren, see what he can do with it."
Yeah.
So he's like, "Try to fix this thing." I labored with that TV. I don't know what was wrong with it. You couldn't go to another channel. It was just stuck on one channel, and it wouldn't change channels.
Was it a dial?
No, it had
channel
little
changer?
buttons on it.
Oh.
But I got in there and I was like, why won't this? Yeah, it's very frustrating. I still remember it now. I must have spent a lot of time with that TV.
So you're not a qualified TV repairman.
I'm not a qualified TV repairman because nowadays, what do you do with a TV? You just throw it away if it doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you just throw it away if it's 2 years old. Even
It's
if
true,
it still
too.
works perfectly.
Well, I was thinking about you with your new phone the other day, too, about that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like the clock's already winding down that phone before there'll be another better phone, like, and not so long anyways. It's
Yeah,
just,
but-
everything's automatically obsolete very quickly.
The cool thing with the phone is that you just recycle. Like I sent it to some weird Russian dude, and because they're several years behind anyway.
Yeah,
And
so
to
they're
him,
it's
it's like,
cutting
"Oh."
edge, this old phone. Yeah.
They're happy. So yeah, I've been battling my meh feelings this week, and of course I had some interactions with strangers, as always seem to happen. I know that you've said this before, but I still can't quite get my head around the fact that random people don't just annoy you or start giving you shit. Usually.
Oh, yeah.
Like usually you go throughout your day, you do what you do, you run your errands, whatever
Yeah.
you're doing, and people for the most part leave you alone, don't
Yes.
they? Yes. Okay, I can't walk out of the house without somebody accosting me for some reason or just telling me something I don't want to know or just inserting themselves somehow into my life. Yesterday, I was downtown, and this wasn't necessarily a bad thing or anything, but it was just an odd exchange where I was sitting in front of the bagelry. There was a obviously homosexual man walking by.
Wasn't the pirate, was it?
No,
Okay.
this was not a homeless homosexual. Obvious and just, he was sashaying along and just had that,
Yeah.
you could tell. He walked by and I sort of caught his eye accidentally just
Yeah,
because,
sure. Whatever, buddy.
I watch people walk by. That's my thing. And he gave me just the largest, most brilliant smile you've ever seen in your life. Just
Well, there you go.
ding.
Yeah.
And I went, and like sort of nodded at him or whatever. And then he went, "You're so cute."
Yeah.
And I went, "Well, thank you." And then he sort of walked out of my field of view, but then suddenly his head went and popped back in. His head.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
popped back in, and he was like, "Have we talked before?" I was like, I don't know, maybe. I think I could vaguely remember maybe running into him before and him telling me that I was cute or something.
Yeah.
And so I was like, maybe, I'm not sure. He's like,
Yeah.
"Are you gay?" No, I'm not gay. What? No, I'm not gay. You're straight. Yes, I'm straight. No, you're not.
Oh, really?
Yes, I am straight. Get out of here. I'm straight. No, you're not. Yes, I am. No. Yes, no. Yes. For like 5 minutes.
Okay, this is, again, I will say this about you with these things. You keep interacting with people. The thing is, if I have these interactions with people, like, the first time I'd be like, straight, and I'd be like, ah, ha, 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 and laugh, and, like, give them, like, a wave, and just keep walking away.
But I wasn't walking. I was sitting down. And he came up to my table. So it's not like I could grab my food and run away, you know?
Yeah.
I was stuck there. And he was there accosting me, accusing me of being gay.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, there's this old couple. Both had their little walkers, and they were creeping out of the bagelry, and they caught this whole exchange and were just so shocked and appalled by what was going on there.
Oh, it's the decline of Western civilization
I know.
right there, right?
Where two men are talking about whether or not they're gay in front
Yeah.
of children could hear this. What's going on? And it took about 5 minutes, and finally I was like, "No, seriously, I am not gay." And then he was like, "Okay, whatever. I still think you're cute." And then he walked away.
Well, that's nice.
It is nice, but why are gay men the only ones who ever come up to me and tell me that I'm
Because
attractive?
you look like a gay guy.
I do not look like a gay guy.
Yeah, compared to me, you do.
Compared to you, everybody looks gay.
But I mean, well, this is the thing. You got the tight little pants on. You got your, like, fancy little shoes. Right? I'm talking about walking around the other morning. I've got my flip-flops pulled off of me because I got, like, sap all over my feet. You know what I mean? I'm dirty. I haven't washed myself in a week. Who knows when the last time I shaved was? No gay guys walking by being like, "There's a prospect for me." Because obviously I'm not.
Well, you could be a bear. Maybe.
No, if you're a bear, you, like, really, like, butch it up, though, too, right? You, like, aggressively look more butch.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I'm not pulling that off either.
So I guess just being well-groomed means you're gay or something. I don't know. Thin
Being
and
well-groomed and looking like you, like, kind of care about your clothing.
Yeah.
That's why there's that whole weird cross-section between, like, frat boys and gay guys sometimes.
Right. I see a lot of the douchebaggy college guys who spent hours in front of the mirror.
Yeah.
And it's sad to know that they spent so much time and the results are so pathetic because, they've got their spiked up gelled hair and their, like, popped collar polo shirts. And it's like, but it's definitely a look and it's something that they're really going for. It's just a really horrible look, but they're putting a lot of effort in. In fact, there was a guy that you saw that guy last night. I was being amused when I was waiting for young Warren to come into the bar where I was meeting where we were supposed to meet, and there was this table of like 21-year-old chicks next to mine, and this dude who was probably in his late 20s, maybe early 30s. He had, you could tell he works out all the time. He had the
he was like touching his pecs, right?
Yeah, he came up to the girls, and he had his hair all spiked up, and
a big belt buckle too.
Big belt buckle, lots of cologne, fancy like designer jeans with weird stitching on the ass. It pisses me off. And he came up, and he was working his magic with him, but he kept rubbing his massive pecs over and over again. But that guy spends probably way more time than I do getting ready. But I'm the one who someone looks at and is like, oh, well, he might be gay. But that guy, you don't think he's gay, even though he's even more ridiculous about his own appearance. I don't know.
Those girls weren't having any of it, though.
No, they didn't seem
they were not impressed at all. Then he sort of like shuffled off eventually after he gave up, and they were just like, rolling their eyes at each other. Like
they left the bar immediately to make sure he didn't come back.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good time.
They wander the streets, scavenging for loose change and discarded cigarette butts.
Spare $1
and give me a motherfucking cigarette.
Ran out of gas ways back. Got me that.
You smoke weed, don't you?
Good booze in the car.
I could use some change.
They may be mentally unstable and deserving of our charity, but that doesn't mean they can't be selected as the Ward and Bradley Show Street Freak of the Week.
All right, then. After last week's Street Freak of the Week, they've been stepping it up even more. We have 2 possible Street Freak of the Week contenders. I can't.
You have a hard time with that.
Street Freak of the Street Freak of the Week. Street Freak. Yeah, it's difficult. The first one, we're going to start it off a little slower, and we're going to build to the crescendo at the end. The first Street Freak I enjoyed a lot because when I lived in LA, I used to be accosted by a lot of conspiracy nut street freaks.
Yeah.
The guys with like the foil helmets and talking about being observed by the government all the time and all sorts of strange, crazy conspiracies. And that doesn't usually happen in Bellingham. It's usually just weirdos who...
There's a lot less tinfoil around.
There's a lot less tinfoil. There's a lot less, like... people taking control of their brains or aliens communicating with them or things like that.
Yeah.
It's more just general
grizzled,
drug addiction
old,
and like
bearded guys.
Yeah, which, has its place as well in the pantheon of street freaks. But yesterday I was on my smoking corner watching people, and there's this guy who I've seen many times before. He's always amused me because I always see him scrounging around for cigarette butts. He's like the skinny little feral kind of twitchy guy.
Yeah.
And I would always see him very furtively going around on the street, and he'd pick up little pieces of cigarette butts and kind of like, I think he would grab the tobacco out of them and then roll them into other cigarettes later.
Yeah.
And because of that, and he would never ask anybody for cigarettes, so I always would offer him one when he was walking by, just because... I don't know. It just seemed kind of sad that he was getting these little fag ends.
And he's also not like bothering you for it.
And he's not bugging me. Yeah. And so in the past, I would see him doing it. I would hold out a cigarette, and it would be like, in Dances with Wolves when...
it's been a long time since Dances with Wolves.
So when Kevin Costner was trying to entice Two Socks the wolf to come and be tame, he would hold out his little piece of bacon or whatever, and Two Socks would very tentatively and gingerly come up, and then finally he'd just go... and snap it out of his hand and run away.
Yeah.
This is like the homeless man. He would see the cigarette and his eyes would widen, and he would kind of look back and forth, and he would slowly approach and then just go and grab it from me and then trundle away as fast as he could. He wouldn't acknowledge that I'd given him one or anything. And so I saw him yesterday. He was furtively looking for smokes. I held out the cigarette. He came up to me. This time he took it and then began to engage me in conversation.
Oh, really?
And I'd never heard him speak before.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is good. What's going to happen here? And he immediately said,
Fucking cops everywhere.
Oh.
And I went, oh, okay. What's wrong with the cops? Are they giving you trouble? What's going on here?
Every time I see a cop car, I want to just smash the windows out of it.
I'm like, well, that's probably not a good idea. You probably shouldn't do that.
No, I haven't done it, but I want to. I want to do it.
Like, okay, so what are the cops doing? What's the problem here?
They've stolen my identity.
Like, oh, really? Stolen your identity, have
I wouldn't
they?
think that identity would be very valuable,
No.
would you?
Well, basically what he says the cops have done to him is they have taken away his birth certificate and they have given it to an imposter who looks very much like him.
Oh, yeah.
But who is 6 inches shorter.
That seems like a flaw in their plan.
And now, if he ever tries to use his birth certificate, he will be arrested.
How often do you use your birth certificate?
know.
Is he trying to get a passport? I think
Maybe if you the first time you apply for a driver's license in a state or something,
Yeah,
or
you don't use that very often.
It's not like you're going to buy beer and they ask for your birth certificate. But basically, he was trying to ask me who he could contact to make sure that he gets his birth certificate back in his name, because the cops have some sort of weird conspiracy against him. And then after I was like, I don't know, you could try this.
I don't know either.
Try
That's
the
tough.
state attorney's office or something. I have no idea. I was pulling shit out of my ass. And then finally after that,
They're always watching.
okay, this is good. This is the classic always watching paranoid birth certificate.
It's like, see that camera over there?
That's a flower pot.
It's a camera.
Oh, no.
No, that's a flower pot hanging above the
You're
sidewalk.
so naive, Brad.
No. And
It's like, there's a camera in that flower pot.
okay. What are they doing with the cameras? What are they trying to find out?
They want to see if I'm drunk.
Are you drunk right now?
Shh!
Do they have microphones in the flower pot too?
They're everywhere.
And then he just walked away.
Yeah, this is, I think it's paranoid schizophrenia,
I think
right?
that's the textbook example
Yeah,
of
that's what happens.
paranoid schizophrenia. But I was quite happy with that. It was not just the normal, like, crazy homeless person just acting like a weirdo. I mean, he was crazy, but he had a good rap going. It was nice.
Well,
Good
it's kind of
pattern.
nice, too, because he's not too over the top, you know?
Well, and he didn't freak out or scream at me.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. He's
Yeah.
he kept it on the DL a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's cameras and microphones everywhere, so you got to.
Well, yeah, that's the
Yeah.
thing. He knows that they're always watching. It was funny that he didn't want anyone to know he was drunk.
Yeah.
Because he was, obviously.
Yeah.
But the way he was walking, you've seen people who, I don't know if you've ever seen anyone pulled over by the cops when they've been drinking and they're supposed to walk the straight line and they have that kind of look on their face and
Like
they're
really
just
focusing.
concentrating
Yeah.
so hard on walking straight. He was kind of doing that as he trundled away.
What a time that guy has.
Okay, the second Street Freak of the week.
Yeah.
You're not going to believe this.
Oh, God.
It's 100% true.
Sure.
Also happened yesterday. This actually happened before the Street Freak, which I've already told you
Yeah.
about. I woke up yesterday pretty early. I had some garbage that I needed to throw away. So I got my little bag together, went out into the back, opened the dumpster.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. There was a homeless man in my dumpster.
Okay, yeah.
He was in the dumpster.
Okay, I believe this.
There was a sort of, like, what do you call, like an ottoman that
Yeah.
somebody had thrown away in there?
Uh-huh.
He was sitting on the ottoman,
Oh.
and he had a cup of coffee.
Just taking it easy.
So I had this
Weekend
bag of
morning.
garbage,
Yeah.
and I had the thing opened, and as he said, "Blah," I let the door slam closed again. I was like, okay, am I going to open this again and just throw the garbage in and
Yeah.
pretend he's not in there? So I open it again and peek inside. He just looks back out at me, takes a sip off his coffee, and just kind of looks at me expectantly.
Like, what are you doing in my house?
Yeah, I hold up the bag of garbage. I'm like, and he goes, and just sort of shrugs.
Yeah.
So I open it further and place the bag of garbage in beside him, and then close the door afterwards. And as I was
walk
walking
away.
away, this older woman who also lives in the building, I think she just moved in recently, she came out and she was like, "Oh, did you meet our guest?" I was like, yes. She's like, "I gave him a cup of coffee." And then she looked very satisfied with herself.
Because that was a weird part about it, right? So you had furniture and a cup of coffee
Yeah.
and was just casually hanging out, but
It was
he's inside
hilarious.
of a dumpster.
And the idea that this woman finds a homeless person, I don't know if she invited him into the dumpster or if she saw him in the dumpster and then was like, okay, I need to give him coffee and a crumpet or something. But that's the first rule is not to give the homeless man in the dumpster a cup of coffee. Because why would he ever leave the dumpster then? I mean, eventually the dumpster will get so full that I think he'll just get shoved out.
Well, eventually the dumpster will be picked up and dumped into a garbage truck, right?
I hope he has the presence of mind to leave before that happens. but-
My understanding is that lots of homeless people die that way.
Really?
Yeah. That they just fall asleep in there and they get crushed or something.
Well,
I
rest
think you're
in
supposed to
peace.
check before you do stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah. All right.
That's
so
I like that.
Do you have a winner?
Oh, I'm going to go with the guy just hanging out. I like him just casually having his morning coffee in a dumpster.
Yeah, he seemed-
Which, you know what? If I was homeless and I actually had a dumpster that like no one put garbage in,
Yeah.
that's not a bad place to live.
Doesn't smell very good in there.
Well, I know, but I'm saying like if you had like a brand new dumpster,
Right.
like the actual thing, and you just like opened it up and like put a little couch in there or a little
Yeah.
ottoman and just hung out, it's not a bad way to live.
Waterproof.
Waterproof. Yeah, it's waterproof.
There's room
I
to
mean,
stretch out in there.
Yeah, there's room to stretch out. It's like pretty comfortable. I mean, if you could lock it from the inside, you'd be safe in there. not saying I want to live in a dumpster, but I'll do it.
All right, so congratulations, Mr. Oscar the Grouch Homeless Man. You've been selected as the Street Freak of the Week.
Congratulations.
Our hats are off to you, Mr. Homeless Man, because you've been selected as the Warren and Bradley Show Street Freak of the Week. Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show. Yes, it is Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show. Let's start it right off with our first story. Justin Bieber throws up on stage in Glendale, Arizona.
Wow. Shocking. He seems to have a lot of problems on stage. You know what I mean?
He's always like running into things, fainting,
Like getting hit by things,
tripping,
thrown from the audience.
Yeah, I don't know what his deal is. I think he might be an idiot. That could be one of the issues.
It's possible.
We're looking at a photo now. Apparently, there's video of as well. He's got his hands on his knees. He's crouched over, just throwing up on stage. He got ill while performing at the 18,000-seat Jobbing Arena in Glendale, Arizona. The video clip shows Bieber turning his back to the audience while singing Out of Town Girl, then hunching over, puking, and running to the side of the stage.
Oh.
He returned and tried to power through the rest of the set. He said, "It's hard for me, not feeling great and throwing up in front of a bunch of people. Will you love me even though I'm throwing up on stage?"
Did he say that really? Is that the quote?
That is the exact quote. The
That's
audience
weird.
went, "Hooray!" And then he said, "Okay, I wanted to give you my best show ever, so do you mind if I finish it?" And they went, "Yeah!"
And he puked all over all
And
of
then
them.
he did. Next story, Robert Pattinson has taken Kristen Stewart back.
Yeah, I heard about this the other day. Somebody told me about this. That's not going to last long, I don't think.
I don't know. Apparently, they're living together again. They have reconciled. After Pattinson finally started taking her calls, she gave him a tearful series of apologies. And I think he got to have his nice little moment there where he was like, "What are you going to do for me?" And she could cry. And he could, because...
What are you going to do for me?
Well, in the Hollywood power dynamic, she's definitely a bigger star than him. And
Is she right now?
I think she has way more potential than he does. Every film he's been in besides the Twilight movies has flopped and has gotten terrible reviews. And she actually has a career outside of Twilight that seems like it could take off. And he's just kind of meh,
You think this is the cynical move to forward his career?
I think so.
He's afraid of slipping into obscurity if he
I
gets
think
out with
so.
Kristen
I think
Stewart.
they're starting to do all their publicity for the new movie, so I think maybe that takes away some distraction, like, oh, we're back together again. And then also, I think if he ever does get a firm career footing, it doesn't hurt to be dating Kristen Stewart, because you're always going to be talked about. That'll constantly be in the tabloids all the time. People will constantly be trying to take pictures of you together.
You have this little faith in these people's relationship.
No.
You think there's so much calculation going on?
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. All right, this is a weird story. I don't know if any of you listeners have heard, but this story, I think, first broke during the middle of the week. There are first reports of an elderly woman being bludgeoned to death, and police were looking for a suspect, and then there are reports that an actor, Johnny Lewis, was a suspect in the death. I didn't know who the fuck he was, but apparently he was in the OC, he was in Sons of Anarchy, he had dated Katy Perry for a while, and so the police suspected him, and then they found him dead in somebody's driveway, and they think he either fell or jumped from the roof of a building. There's all sorts of weird conjecture. They don't know. They don't have toxicology reports back or anything. But basically, he went to this old woman's house, who I guess was his landlady at some point.
Isn't this the premise of Crime and Punishment? Isn't that what doesn't he bludgeon his landlord to death in that Raskolnikov?
It's actually a woman who owns a pawn shop.
Is it? It's not his
Yeah,
landlord?
not his landlady.
It's been many years, but that's the first thing that came to mind. I thought he was pulling off
Yeah.
something like that.
Well, I don't think this guy is trying to do any sort of existential statement on whether or not crime
Yeah.
pays, because I guess he was on Sons of Anarchy until maybe last year or the year before. His character was killed off, and in the last year he's been arrested multiple times. He was arrested for assault. He was beat somebody with a bottle or something.
Yeah.
He's been in and out of jail. His parole officer was saying they were openly worried about his mental health and thought that he might pose a danger to others or to himself. They were trying to get him to actually get counseling, and they think he might have had a substance abuse problem. But it's very interesting to have somebody who I mean, at one point he was dating Katy Perry.
Yeah.
And he was in all these TV shows. And then he was basically, for the last year, was kind of homeless, in and out of jail, attacking people, and then finally bludgeoned and choked to death an 85-year-old woman. I'm looking at a picture of him. He doesn't
look familiar to me.
Does not look familiar. He does look like somebody who might bludgeon an elderly woman to death.
Hey, he's kind of crazy eyes.
I guess he also attacked a handyman and somebody else who was at the property.
Jeez,
And he looks like a scrawny little guy, so he's just like going insane, just beating the shit out of
if you're
people.
crazy and you're attacking people who
Yeah.
aren't prepared for an attack, and especially if they're old ladies, then yeah.
Next story.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, affair with housekeeper Mildred Baina was stupidest thing I've done to Maria Shriver. It's quite a headline, isn't it?
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger has a new biography out called Total Recall. Or wait a minute, what is it
No,
called?
it's not,
Yes,
is it?
it is. What is it? Where's the fucking name? Oh, Total Recall, my unbelievably true life story. Basically, it's kind of a tell-all book. He admits to having a steamy affair with actress Bridget Nielsen when they were filming Red Sonja. And I guess that's when he had first started dating Maria Shriver, and his affair with Bridget Nielsen is what convinced him that he should marry Maria Shriver.
That's confusing.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. Maybe she was beating him up all the time or something.
Was Bridget Nielsen that giant blonde woman?
Yeah.
Who was on that reality show, and Flavor Flav and her were like getting together?
I don't know about that, but
You
she
remember
was
that show?
She was in Red Sonja. She was the main chick in Red Sonja.
I don't know where it's. I don't remember.
That was like one of those horrible barbarian movies. It was like a spin-off of Conan.
Oh, really?
Conan, whatever. And Arnold Schwarzenegger was in it briefly, and she was kicking everybody's ass. She was chopping people up with
You think
swords.
Sylvester Stallone may have been married to her briefly?
Just as an aside, what was with that weird barbarian movie subgenre in the early 80s,
I
late
don't know.
70s? Why did this happen?
People were interested in barbarians at the time.
Why aren't we anymore?
Oh, it's just things cycle through society, right? We were really interested in dinosaurs for a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I still like dinosaurs.
Well, I still like dinosaurs too, but I mean, there was a little period there where it was like really dinosaur
Now
centric.
we're in this zombie phase going
Oh
on.
yeah, exactly. Right.
That's been going on forever, though.
The zombie phase has been going on for quite a while, but
Yeah.
the last
I think we
10
should bring
years.
back the barbarians.
All right.
They actually tried to do that Conan remake. Why did I keep saying Conan? Conan remake, and it didn't do very
They
well.
tried to make a Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah,
really?
it came out a while ago.
Oh, it came out?
Yeah.
Oh, who was in it? Who was the star?
It was the dude who was called Drogo in Game of Thrones. It's time for a train break!
We really got sidetracked. Some bizarre digression there. Let's try this train break ever.
This is a train break.
There's this guy that was in this show that you haven't seen. Oh, yeah, okay, all right.
Is this a short train or a long train?
Looks like Be careful, you're gonna like choke.
I'm gonna die. Oh, that was a good train break. Where the fuck were we? We were talking
We're
about
talking about the
barbarians
new
and like Red
Conan
Sonja or something.
movie. You're trying to explain to me who the new Conan was by telling me he was in a show.
He was in
I'd
Game
never
of
seen.
Thrones.
Yeah, I
I don't
never.
know.
Yeah,
He's some big dude. It wears eye makeup. Anyway, I guess we were talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I wish he named it Kindergarten Cop. That's a good title for his biography. That would have been better.
Well, if you had to pick the title of one of his films, yeah.
Twins, maybe.
Twins, perhaps, yeah.
The two Arnolds, yeah.
Basically, the book details all his crazy... I mean, he had a child with his maid, and his maid...
Well, the child was like a teenager, right, when this all came out?
I believe the child is now 14.
Okay.
Well, I guess Maria suspected that something had been going on.
Yeah.
And so after he was no longer the governor, they went to a counseling session. The therapist said, Maria wanted to come here today and to ask about a child, whether you fathered a child with your housekeeper, Mildred.
Oh, that's awkward.
And Schwarzenegger says,
Yeah.
it's true.
I did.
I guess Schwarzenegger still holds hope that they can get back together at some point.
Oh, they're divorced now, or are they they're separated?
They are definitely separated. I'm not sure if they're officially divorced or not. All right, we had a story, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, about the Renoir painting, Les Passages de Bol de Seine, or whatever
Exactly.
the fuck it was called.
Yeah.
That was found in a flea market.
Yeah.
And a Virginia woman had bought it for $7 at a flea market in 2010. Now it's coming out that apparently it had been stolen in 1951. Police have located a 1951 theft report from the Baltimore Museum of Art of a Renoir painting matching the description of the one that turned up recently at a West Virginia flea market. The report was uncovered Friday. It says there was no evidence of forced entry at the museum. The painting was valued then at $2,500.
I'm glad it's the Baltimore police. I like to think about McNulty and Bunk and like figuring this out.
Museum officials were combing through paper records to learn more about the theft. So far, they have found a record documenting the painting was on loan from art patron Sadie A. May. So who knows if the May estate is still around, if the painting is going to be wrested from the woman who bought it for $7, or if it's going to go ahead and still be sold at auction. Just very interesting, though.
It's a difficult case.
So somebody went into an art museum in 1951, stole a Renoir, and then sold it at a flea market or something for $7, or 50 years later. Yeah. I don't know.
It's very confusing.
It's very strange.
But there's more to this story too. Maybe we'll get some more information.
We'll get an update later.
Yeah.
This might be our last story. Lindsay Lohan choked in New York City hotel room. Oh,
She
God.
probably deserved it.
Lindsay Lohan, aged 26, was seen partying at One Oak nightclub in New York. She met a man named Christian Labella and invited him back to her room at the W Hotel. Once there, they got into an argument after Lohan learned Labella took photos of her on his cell phone. I don't know what kind of photos those were. I guess she wanted possession of his cell phone. He became angry and punched her and choked her.
Oh, jeez.
Lohan pulled the hotel's fire alarm after running from her room.
I wish
She's still on a path to sobriety, a fulfilling and meaningful life. She's not going to excess. She's pulled back on all the crazy shenanigans that she's engaged in. She's getting her career back on track, and she's not doing anything stupid anymore.
No, certainly not. God, that sounds exhausting. What an exhausting way to live.
It is possible to be famous and to be rich and not be a psycho. I know it is. There are people there are good examples of this.
Like Tom Hanks.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So there's hope. There's no hope for Lindsay Lohan.
It would be Can you imagine if Lindsay Lohan just pulled it all together and became a huge star again?
That's not going to happen. She's ruined her face. Look at her face. Look at her face.
Oh. Doesn't look that good.
No.
It's not as bad as Kathy Griffin, but...
Kathy Griffin is 50 years old.
Yeah,
Lindsay Lohan is 26. Look at her.
Yeah, it's too bad.
Anyway.
Okay, that's a good close.
All right. This has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
This has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Say things that don't make any sense, and then they do things that make even less sense than the things they said that didn't make any sense. Oh, they want you to buy them fancy jewels, but when you give it to them, they say you're a fool. Whoa, 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 whoa. 'Cause that's how women are.
That's How Women Are. It's been a long time since we've had a That's How Women Are.
Has it?
It's been several weeks, I think.
Really?
I think the reason is that I so rarely have any contact or interaction with women.
Yeah.
And frankly, you have a girlfriend, so you should be the one bringing in That's How Women Are.
But I also can't just like complain about my girlfriend.
You could just
and put it on the
pretend that you're
internet.
not talking about her. She wouldn't notice.
Just change your name slightly.
Yes.
Say I know this person by this name and then
Yes.
complain about the things.
Somebody
yeah.
who I'm not dating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's going to happen.
Well, the other week, actually it was last weekend, I was going to try to do it in last week's show, but we didn't have time. I overheard a conversation while I was at the Bagelry, And I was struck by the amount of times the word feel or felt or feelings was used in this conversation. It was between two middle-aged married women. One of the women was talking about how apparently her husband was doing something that she didn't like, and I didn't get the exact details of what he was doing.
Probably trying to have any
sex
sort of
with
joy or
prostitutes
happiness in his life.
Or that, yeah.
Yeah.
And she was irritated by it, and she was trying to express to him why it was irritating to her.
Yeah.
And so she was talking to her friend, and I have an exact quote here. As they were discussing this, she went into this little tirade. I was able to feel that my feelings were able to be fully felt. And through that, when I could really feel my feelings, I knew that I didn't really feel right about the way he was making me feel.
Yeah. It's too much feel.
And her friend, of course, was like, yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And everything you're saying is perfectly
I was
valid.
there sitting next to them at a table, and I wanted to just poke them and be, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
That meant nothing. The statement that just came out of your mouth conveyed no information whatsoever. There was nothing there. There was nothing to go on.
No.
There was no way to resolve any sort of situation that you might be having, because all you're talking about is feelings. You're not
Feelings
talking
about feelings even.
Feelings about the
Meta
feelings that you
feelings.
felt something
Yeah.
about when you were feeling that thing that you felt. It's ridiculous. But this is something that I think is rather common. It's often been talked about that women feel things.
Yeah.
Men don't, apparently.
Yeah.
Now, what is your take on this, Warren? Because I think it's kind of that traditional stereotype that if there's a problem in a relationship or there's some sort of issue, a woman wants to feel that her feelings are being validated,
Yeah.
and a man wants to try to solve the problem
Yeah.
in a more practical way. That's the broad stereotype. I think it often holds true. So in your relationships, in your experience with women, do you think that this is the case, that in most cases women don't actually want to solve a problem, they just want you to acknowledge that a problem exists?
Oh, that's it. We've talked about this before in the past, about the thing about just like you listening to them talk, and
Right.
that is enough. Even
Right.
if you really aren't listening, but if you're just acting like you're listening, that's an important thing to them.
Right.
Whereas maybe we would use communication as a means of like, to some end, maybe we'd like be communicating something to each other rather than just like yammering for no reason and then
your
forcing
word,
someone
not
else to
mine.
hear it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't do that to people.
Well, okay, let's say if putting myself in her shoes, like, I don't know what the issue was in the relationship that she was having a problem with, but let's say I'm dating a girl and she's going out all the time. I'm feeling weird about the fact that, she's out till 3
Your
in the
girl
morning
wants to
every
party
night.
all the time, yeah.
She's party all the time, party all the time, party all the time. And I'm sitting at home in my apron, making food. She's not coming home for dinner. She's not calling me. I'm trying to
Yeah.
text her. I don't know what's going on. So if I were in that relationship, I would sit down with the girl and I'd say, listen, I don't like the fact that
Yeah.
you're going out all the time and I'm left here alone, bereft
Yeah.
in my apartment, cooking
Yeah.
my, chicken cacciatore. Why don't we change this? Why don't you not do that? And we'll come to some sort of compromise, some sort of solution where maybe you only go out 6 nights a week
The
instead
problem
of
with
7
these
nights a week.
relationships is, though, often that pretty much any situation you're going to get in like that is going to be the woman seeing something wrong with you and trying to fix you.
Usually, yeah.
So she would come back at you about how you were insecure,
Yeah.
and you don't trust her enough, and
Right.
the tables would be turned, and suddenly you be the jerk. Because that's the way it's always done. It's always the sense that, like, you always have to serve the female's interests in every way. And if, like, you ever
You're not
trade...
speaking from personal experience.
No. But but I'm thinking of my experience with every single female, like, relative
Except the one you're
relationship,
currently
except for the one I'm currently dating,
Yeah.
and my whole life, which is the fact that, like, you doing the things they want to do is considered the right thing to do.
Right.
You just doing something that you want to do is considered selfish.
Right.
You not doing something that they want to do with them is considered selfish.
Right.
So basically, everything you do is selfish, unless you're doing exactly what they want you to do at all times.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, which is completely fair.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah, it's very simple. Just obey and always do what you're told to do.
It is funny. I've always been struck by that, where I have no say. Okay, let's say I want to go do something. The girl doesn't want to do it. And me deciding that I'm going to do it without her means that I'm being mean to her.
Yeah.
instead of her compromising with me and doing something, well, I don't really want to do it, but I know you do, so I'll go ahead and do it with you. We had a conversation like this before. I don't know if we're in the same topic that we
I think we've
originally-
covered this before, yeah.
Well,
Seems we come around to this
I
sometimes.
don't think we've done this in That's How Women Are, though, and we're kind of melding the two together in this segment. But it is very strange that I don't know how many times women actually stop and think about what they're asking and what they're expecting of people in
Well, that's the
relationships.
whole point. They feel it.
They feel it, and they feel, I guess, an overriding selfishness constantly, or self-absorption, where can't you put yourself in the other person's shoes ever?
No.
Is that possible?
But
Because that's all men. I mean, I know that there are a lot of men who are complete dicks and idiots, but a man who tries to do well in a relationship, you're constantly faced with the conflict of, what do I want to do? What does the girl want to do? And I know that if I don't do what the girl wants to do, there's going to be a problem. But if she doesn't do what I want to do, that's not a problem for her. And I can't make it a problem, because if I make it a problem, that's me being selfish. But
Yeah.
she never stops to think that she's being selfish for trying to make me want to do what she wants to do all the time.
yeah, it's the thing where it's like her being selfish and then calling you selfish.
Yeah.
Is the accusation to make you do what she wants you to do, and her being selfish.
Right.
It's really turning the tables on somebody in a really cruel way.
But is there no self-reflexivity at all? Like,
No.
reflexivity, self-reflection.
Self-reflection. Yeah, that's better.
I think that makes more sense.
That's just the way it goes. That gets back to the thing where if you're seeing things objectively, though, too, right?
Yeah.
You're not seeing everything like
So that's-
revolving around you.
So we can bring this full circle, because we started out talking about their feelings, and the fact that they can't, or often can't, see these things objectively is because they're so caught up in their own feelings. So when you say, I don't want to do the thing that you want to do, they feel bad about that. And instead of realizing, okay, there's a lot of things that he does that he doesn't want to do, but he does them for me because I want to do them.
Yeah.
They just feel upset, and that's all they can focus on.
Yeah. And it also gets back to the fact that, like, this is common of a lot of men, but a lot of women I've known, too, that they think things should be done a certain way.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be done. I mean, it's almost like a religious zealot.
Yeah, in a way.
Because it's weird, because it's like, oh, you're not going to do things the way I want to do them all the time? You're being awful.
Yeah.
A more objective person, maybe a more enlightened religious person, a liberal religious person might be like, okay, I have my own set of values.
Right.
You have some things that you value more.
There's things that we can agree on.
We can
There's
agree
things
on
that
certain
we can
things.
disagree on.
But, you know, your choice of who to worship is really your own thing, right? Rather than just being like, no, I know the way things are supposed to be done.
You're supposed
if
to
you're not
worship
conforming,
me at all times.
you have to do what I want to do at all times. And
Yeah.
anything you do that deviates from that is disrespectful to the way things are supposed to be.
Yeah. There's always the stereotype of the poor henpecked husband who hides in the garage for hours at a time.
But it's not. This is the thing about that. It's not a stereotype. It's what goes on in our society.
Yeah.
There's
It's like
millions of these men that are around. That
The
are
whole
just,
house belongs to the woman.
Yeah.
Everything that happens in the house is her decision, basically, in terms of how it's decorated, what goes on in these rooms. And the man, he has one little area that he can go and hide in, and
Hopefully.
and if he tries to do something, it's like,
Why are you out in that garage all the time doing the things that you like?
And the thing about being like reflective a little bit, the woman might turn, catch herself in the mirror, and see herself sneering at this poor man. It might be like, oh, I have an idea about why maybe this man doesn't want to come into the house all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm constantly like on top of him, like pecking at every little thing he does constantly, and not allowing him any freedom of movement or even any freedom of thought in his own home. That could be a reason.
now, just to reiterate, we're not saying that every woman is like this.
We're not saying that every woman is like this, but we see this.
Yeah, there's a reason why the stereotype exists. It wasn't just created whole cloth out of the air. It exists.
I've mentioned this before. It's Everybody Loves Raymond. It's Raymond.
Yeah.
God love him. All he wants to do is maybe have a couple hours of golf on the weekend. The rest of the time, he's working to support his family, hanging out with his family, doing everything he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
But he has to conspire, like it's some heist film, to try to get just a couple hours to himself. Is that angry woman is constantly like staring him down, trying to root him out to find out any little thing he might be doing to enjoy himself or to have any freedom in his life at all.
You seem very passionate about this.
But the thing is, when you watch that show, it's played up as comedy. I think it's abusive. I really do. And I don't think it serves anyone to live that way.
No.
And when I see that show, it like disgusts me.
Well, it's nice that you have a relationship that is give and take and full of compromise.
Well, I also don't have a cell phone.
Is that the secret?
That's my secret of my life in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a very good excuse.
Just like wander into the
Where
street,
were you? I was trying to get what?
not be
Sorry,
reachable.
baby. Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's the way I live my life. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's kind of impossible to say, I didn't get your call. It's like saying that something got lost in the mail. Nothing gets lost in the mail.
No. Well, I mean, yeah, it's amazing the people that like don't pay their bills. Everything
Yeah.
they send gets
I
lost in
sent
the mail.
that check.
But do you remember when was the last time you sent something in the mail that got lost?
Never.
I pay bills and I've never had anything get lost in the mail. No.
Well then, I don't know if we've come to any sort of solution here. But I guess what we can say is that women feel things, and they're selfish.
I don't. Not to be too much of a man right now, but I will say this: I don't like feelings. I think feelings are stupid for the most part.
It depends. I'm definitely respectful of feelings. I feel things as well. But I also don't like it when feelings get in the way of logic to the detriment of both people involved.
I think feelings, for the most part, is what causes a lot of suffering in people.
Yes.
And I think understanding your feelings and, like, controlling them and, you know, really thinking through things in a rational, calm way is a much better way to live than constantly being pulled around like some sort of dog by your feelings everywhere you go. That's no way to live, people.
I agree.
Thank you.
And that's how women are.
Yeah, they like to put pretty purple panties on. And then they turn around and tell you that every little bit of thing you've ever done is always wrong. Well, they like to cry when they stub their little toe. But no, they don't cry when they tell you to go. No. Yeah, that's how women are. Yeah, I'm talking about how women are. Whoa, women are. Yeah, women are. That's how women are. Yeah.
This has been the Warren and Bradley Show, brought to you by Warren Van and Bradley Victor. For podcast news and information, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Warren and Bradley. Follow the show on Twitter at Warren and Brad. Subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. For episode archives and episode pictures, go to warrenandbradley.com, and to contact the show, write to podcast at warrenandbradley.com.
The show, even though my head is just ringing like a gong that somebody beat with a
gong beater?
A gong beater. I'm going to try to power through and do the show. It is episode 45, I think, of the Warren and Bradley Show.
Is it? For some reason, I would think it was 44.
I think I just posted 44.
So it's 45?
Yeah. All
Okay.
you eagle-eared listeners out there will know.
Yeah, correct. Send in a correction to the Twitter account if we're wrong about what episode it is.
But we're going to have a good show. We're
Are you
going to
drinking
have
coffee for the...
I am.
Oh, okay.
See, this is the hangover thing.
Yeah.
I should have some sunglasses on, too.
Did you take any, like, medicine or anything?
Well, I drank tons of water this morning. I did the Alka-Seltzer extra strength.
Yeah.
Made myself some eggs and bacon. Had lots of coffee. I don't know.
Still
I think,
have a headache, huh?
I think this is going to be one of the all-day hangovers that just never actually goes away until I go to sleep tonight, basically.
I wonder if it is worse because of the effects of your concussion from 2 weeks ago.
I don't know. I was sick last week too and had a headache from being sick. But then I didn't know if it was from being sick or if it was still from the concussion.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You got a lot of problems.
I've been having some problems lately. But we're gonna power through. We're gonna get
The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire.
Let's make some magic.
It
What was
is
that?
magic
Oh my
time.
god. Are you having like belching issues?
No, wait a minute. Wait. It is magic time. Hello and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show.
Don't talk to me about energy when you can't even do a podcast.
Shh, quiet. I have a hangover right now.
Oh god.
My head hurts very badly. I'm going to do my best. This is how much I care about the listeners and the audience for it. I think it's a problem of you just need to exercise that drinking muscle, get it all buff and callous.
Well, I only had 2 drinks last night, and I was so paranoid about having a hangover. I went home and drank tons and tons of water, and woke up scared that I was going to have a horrible headache.
Yeah, well, there's all those home remedies for hangovers that never seem to work. I think sleep is pretty much the only thing that ever does anything.
Let your body recover naturally. Yeah.
But this week I was sick. I don't know. Just bleh. Not feeling great.
That's what we're doing now?
I guess.
Summing up your week, you just go, blah.
Bleh.
I'll tell you, a couple things happened to me this week.
What happened to you?
Well, I went out and got conveyor belt sushi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so I was eating some edamame, and I was in the pod, and I was biting through it, and it shot out and almost landed on the plate of the guy that was sitting next to me. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And he was like, oh, don't worry about it. It's cool. But then the little pod was still sitting there.
Yeah.
And so I waited 10 seconds, and I sort of reached over and took it, because it wasn't like I was just going to leave it there.
Is this at a bar?
It's like a bar where the conveyor belt's going by.
Right.
And I took it away. He's like, it's fine. I was like, yeah, I know, but I still...
Give a good show to the listeners here. We're going to have a Street Freak of the Week.
Oh.
We have 2 excellent Street Freaks. One of whom you probably won't believe, but...
Oh, another one of those?
You'll have to suspend your disbelief. We're going to try to do That's How Women Are last week, but we're going to try to cram it into this episode this week.
Okay, good.
We have some good celebrity news, so let's get right on it.
It's very exciting.
It's very, very exciting. Yeah, the hangover... I went out with our good friend Warren Van, who's also my co-host, last night.
Yeah.
And we had a couple drinks, yada, yada, yada. Hadn't had that much. And then I went to a show, and I met with a couple friends who were at the show, and then they immediately left. So then I was just at the show.
Oh, no.
And I was drinking, but I didn't think I drank that much. I was just kind of standing around listening to the music, glaring at women who I found attractive, which apparently does not.
No.
It doesn't help much.
Being the weird loner that's just glaring at women isn't that
or
great.
glowering perhaps would be the proper term for it.
There you go.
I guess that doesn't really attract their notice.
No.
Or it does attract their notice, but not in a good way.
Not in a positive way.
It's more of a, that guy is creepy, stay away from him kind of way. It was a good show. There was some band, it was one of the dudes from the Fleet Foxes, which is this Seattle band that I don't like very much, but he was playing in this band called Poor Moon. And it was good. It was kind of poppy, shimmery, poppy stuff. They actually covered a very obscure Kinks song.
Oh, there you go.
Nobody,
that win you some affection.
The Kinks are probably my favorite band of all time. And it was one of those deep cuts that nobody would even know was a Kinks song, except I knew it was a Kinks song.
So you had that feeling of superiority over some of the other people.
But I didn't have anyone to tell.
No, you're like I know who wrote that
just
song.
Start nudging strangers like, this is a Kinks song. Yeah.
People like, who cares? Shut up.
But it was fun. And then I wandered home. Well, actually, it wasn't very fun. But I wandered home mildly drunk. And I think the problem is that my drinking muscle is atrophied now because I don't drink very often.
Yeah.
And when I do drink, I drink maybe once a week, and I don't drink that much.
You're not drunk all the time anymore.
No. I think I had more fun when I was drunk all the time.
Oh, yeah. It was fun sometimes, yeah. But hangovers aren't any good.
Well, I didn't really get hangovers then because I was